I'm a very attacking batsman. I believe personally, if there's a bad ball, it's got to go for 4. It's a nice excuse to go away with a cricket team that you played for, and great bunch of guys. Winning would just make it a little bit better. I mean, the confidence level is over the roof. I think going.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah. The vibes every week was just unbelievable.
Backyard Cricket England is now in partnership with Telsa Media, a digital marketing agency with offices both at home in the UK and abroad. For all your digital business needs, call 0203 322 3098, email hello@telsamedia.com or visit www.telsamedia.com. Backyard Cricket England, now proudly sponsored by Telsa Media.
Go for it.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Backyard Cricket England Get to Know podcast, where we're getting to know all the members of our Ashes squad for the first ever world first Backyard Ashes series against the WCG in November of this year. My guest today, I've got a very, very special guest, one of the great players, one of the great characters of BCE cricket with us. He spent most of his career playing for New Beckenham or Purley. They've had a name change over the years. He's made 176 appearances for them, just shy of 1,500 runs, 6 half-centuries, and he's also taken more than 200 wickets for them. He also plays for Woodside Green, where he's been a member for 6-7 years now, more than 50 appearances for the Green, and again, just shy of 1,500 runs, 10 half-centuries, and his first career century in 2019 as well. And he was a member of the 2021 Invincibles campaign, and in 2019 he was the season's top run scorer for the club. And between both teams combined, he's taken over 50 catches, a real all-rounder as well. In backyard cricket, he's played 9 test matches, more than 300 runs, 2 half-centuries, including the highest ever score by a debutant in backyard cricket, which was his career best of 72. He's also been a canny bowler over the years and taken 12 wickets with a best of 3 for 17. And like we said, he is a member of the Ashes squad for Sydney this year. It is my great pleasure to introduce to the podcast Mr. Gurpaul Singh. Gurpaul, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very, very much for coming. So obviously that's quite a detailed record you've got there. Now you started as a bowler, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, obviously a crafty little leg spinner, more than 200 wickets as we heard there. Just tell me a little bit about how you got into the game and how you got into leg spin bowling. Why was it leg spin for you?
Oh, it goes back a long way. Started playing when I was about 12 years old. Started as a medium pacer, as we all did.
Yeah.
And just Dad was like, "Yeah, why don't you try this?" And then
so
took off from there.
Was it? Did you get into cricket through your dad? Would he be the one who introduced you?
Yeah, it was mostly him. Started playing club cricket when I was about 13, and I never looked back. Played for various clubs, Purley being obviously one of them. Spent quite a number of years there, and then moved over to HSBC.
I've had a few different names.
Yeah,
New Beckenham as well.
The bank themselves, and then now New Beckenham.
And you've obviously got an extensive record with them. So just tell me a little bit about your childhood then, when you first got into the game. You mentioned you started playing at 12. When did you start watching the game? Was it around that time, or had you always been a fan?
Oh, it was probably a couple of years before that, and then that really got me into it.
So do you remember who your sort of big influences were as a kid? I'm thinking as a leg spinner, you were about the age where Shane Warne would have still been playing. Would he have been the one for you?
Definitely. Shane Warne and Kumble.
Kumble as well, yeah.
Those were the 2 best role models for myself.
And obviously, you started up with leg spin. So you said you were a medium pacer when you started at 12 years old. When did you take up spin?
It's about, I think, 13, 14
years old. Oh, so quite soon.
And that's when I met Ricky, when I got into district, playing for Croydon.
Yes.
And again, Ricky was an unbelievable wicket keeper, and that's how we both met.
So you and obviously Ricky go back a long way. And exciting to be on this tour with him. He's obviously a part of the squad as well.
Absolutely.
Would he be the person you'd say you probably know best out of the team that's coming to Australia? Would he be the sort of closest one for you?
It will be Ricky and Sam.
And Sam Dennis, you've known a long time as well.
Same age, different schools, but we played in the same district, Croydon. So
So obviously growing up, big Shane Warne fan, Kumble as well, and all this. And how did you find bowling leg spin as a kid? Was it something you grasped quite quickly, or was it something that you struggled with? How was it for you in those early years?
I struggled, definitely, without doubt. Leg spin is an art, I think.
Oh,
takes
yeah.
a long time to master. And if you don't keep up with it, you'll lose it. And I think that's what happened with me. I think 2016, I took a couple of years out of cricket, and that was it.
Yeah, so that was going to be the question then, because now anyone who's played club cricket with you now would regard you as a batsman. And bowling doesn't really happen. Like I say, you've played over 50 games forward side, you've taken 5 wickets, which is obviously not the number of a regular bowler. So where did that change then, having gone from a front line? Because I think I'm right in saying when you were a junior player, you weren't much of a bat.
No.
It was all about the leg spin. How did that happen slowly, or was that rapid change? What was the transition to move to being a bat and not bowling so much?
I think the break didn't help, and it's concentration, time. Obviously, as you get older, you don't have that.
Leg spin is an art that needs a lot of work.
I used to bowl 3 times, 4 times a week. Playing 4 or 5 times a week when I was very young. Obviously, yeah, the break just didn't happen. I took a break, and then it was just concentrating on my batting more.
And is it something you miss? If you had the chance, if I said to you, when we play club cricket now, you could be an all-rounder frontline bowler, is that something that would still appeal to you?
Yes and no.
Do you want to dive into that a little more for us?
Leg spin, again, takes a lot of effort, a lot of practice, and that's something I just don't have. I don't have that time anymore to invest in bowling that I did before. With batting, you could have a net a week, you'll be alright. You can have a few throwdowns, you're good to go. Leg spin wasn't like that. It was just constant training, 3-4, weekly training sessions, and it was just a lot of time being taken up.
So is it an accuracy thing? Because anyone who's seen you bowl now will say you still rag it as much as anybody. It still turns a long way. Is it just honing that accuracy and reliability that's become...
It's rhythm. If you don't keep up with the rhythm, there's just no point bowling. You're just going to bowl wide, you're going to bowl no balls, and it's just, that was happening to me. And I just thought, right, I'm going to take a back step and then just concentrate on batting. I think I just didn't get given that chance as when I was young, I would say, as a batsman. I think I was doing all right with the bat, but I just wasn't given that chance. Whereas now I am.
Was it something you always enjoyed? Did you want to bat more when you were young? Or was it just about bowling?
No, I think I would want it. I think batting was more. I love batting more.
So how has that been for you then, moving into the new Gurpaul 2.0, if you like, who is now a batsman? Has that been enjoyable? Is that something you really come to love? Because it can be tough now that you're not bowling. You run the risk of you get a duck and your day's over in 5 minutes, whereas before you had the second option.
That's exactly it. But then again, it gives you that thing where if you don't score runs, you'll be like, I want to get into the next.
So it gives you drive.
Yeah, it gives you drive because you have to wait another week for your second game basically to do well. And so whereas leg spin, you could get smacked out of the park and then completely be like, right, I don't want to bowl anymore.
Some of the pitches we play on, they're not great for spin bowlers anyway.
No.
So tell me about New Beckenham then, or now known as HSBC.
HSBC, known as New Beckenham.
Yeah, so obviously had a couple of names. You've obviously spent a long time there. Most of your cricket has been played for them. How is that now? Do you still have a strong bond with that club? How do you see that relationship between club and player? Just tell us a little bit about your time with them.
It's obviously the best facilities I've ever played at. Without doubt, the wickets are the best I've ever come across. Batting wise, it's a dream because if you're playing at home, you're going to have a decent wicket. Bowling wise, I do bowl, but it's more just literally get it on the spot. There's nothing. There is a big standard difference between Surrey Championship, which I played, which was Purley. There's a little bit of a drop in standard, but not much. But the guys are great, good facilities, positive vibes, which
So that's a relationship that's still very much alive and obviously looking to continue for probably years to come.
Definitely, absolutely.
And just tell us about your batting then, because like I say, you've spent recent years, you've come back as a batsman, you joined Woodside in I think 2017 and joined as a batsman.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first 50, either for any team, and what was that feeling like when you made that half century of, well, this is as a pure batsman, when you come back as a batsman, that first 50, how did that feel? Did it give you a bit of security?
It did. It just feels good. I think every batsman would agree. Go up.
Yeah, I think so. You need success to feel like a player.
Absolutely.
And then obviously the big thing for you, I mean, you joined Woodside and then within a year or two, 101 not out against Warlingham in 2019, your first century for anybody, I think.
I think so, yeah.
And that is obviously the mark of a proper, you feel like a proper player when you've made a turn.
Absolutely.
Was that the same for you? How do you reflect on that 4 years down the line now? Do you look back on that innings a lot? What did it mean to you at the time?
I still do. I remember slightly me getting that 100.
Do you remember the feeling? Do you remember the shot you played to get the 100?
I think so. I think it was on off. I think it was through point. I think I hit
for 4.
Yeah, for 4.
Yeah.
It was through point for 4, and it was like, wow, long way.
Yeah. Is that something you still think about? Do you still look back on that? At least does it give you a kind of blanket when you're going through bad runs more recently? You know you've got that in the bank.
I try not to think too much about the past.
So it's just looking forward.
I always look forward to. So every game is a new game for me. You want to do well. Want to score 50 or 100, and it would also depends on the game situation, how my team is doing. So yeah, I think thinking forward for me is more. I think forward with positive vibes. I think rather than looking back.
And that time, we will look back for the purpose of this interview though. That time was quite early into your Woodside career. Do you feel it had any kind of impact on making you feel settled in that team and a part of the team, or did you already feel like that beforehand?
I think I felt like that beforehand. I knew Rob Maguire.
Yeah, because you'd have known a lot of them.
Sam,
Ricky.
Ricky. I knew.
I think you would have known James Maguire as well. Did you know him?
Yeah. Ricky, James Maguire, Sam, Dan, Rob Maguire. These are the guys you bumped across in your career.
And how have you found that over the years now? Because like I say, you've become a regular at Woodside, and you're still playing on a Saturday for HSBC. How have you found juggling 2 days a week? Because a lot of players, as we start getting over the years, there's a lot of players now who used to play twice a week but only play once now. You're one of the few that's kept going on both days.
Yeah.
How have you found those demands as you've got older and obviously a bit easier as a batsman?
It's hard. It's not easy. 2 days a week is very difficult because you're just giving up the whole weekend for cricket.
Yeah.
But I do love the game, so for me.
Well, you have to do that. I think.
Yeah. I do try to balance the week, so I try to take a day off midweek or take half a day off. Just cut down a bit of working hours.
Just have a bit of a rest.
Just have a bit of a rest to play 2 days a week, but it's not easy. I've missed a few games this year.
Yeah, we haven't seen you as much as we'd like. I think you've played one game this year, but still found the time to score 70 odd in that game as well.
So yeah.
So still in good nick when we can get you on the park.
So today didn't help. I was looking forward to playing.
Yeah, as it is at the moment, we are at Addiscombe Cricket Club where we were due to have a game today, but it has been cancelled because the opposition couldn't get a team out, which is a shame. But the advantage of that is we have the company. Good.
Got hold of me.
So early in your Woodside career, you obviously done well, established yourself in the team and played pretty much every game. There was no availability problems then. And then we come into 2021. Now this is a famous year for Woodside as the invincible season. And you were a member of that team, you played a lot of games that season, a lot of big contributions. Just tell us what you remember about that achievement, that season and what it meant to you. What was it like being part of such a successful side?
I mean, the confidence level is over the roof. I think going.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
The vibes every week was just unbelievable.
You can't really recreate that.
You can't. Going into a Sunday thinking you're going to ace the game.
It's almost coming in knowing you were going to win, and it was just about who was going to be the star for you that day.
Absolutely. And again, yourself, Ricky, Rob with the ball, Dan, Jake, everybody was just on fire. I've just never seen anybody anything like it.
You as well, some big contributions from you that year. The one I remember is me and you had a partnership at a place called Under River, where we were about 30 for 3 batting first, and they were swinging it all over the place. And then me and you came in and put on about 120. I was more sort of padding down, seeing our way through it. You were the attacker at the other end.
Yeah, it always works.
Where does that rank in that season for you? Do you think that was your best contribution of that season, or is there any others that stand out?
I think there was that. And obviously Cold Harbour, definitely enjoyed
that.
Yes. Cold Harbour.
Yeah,
with Ricky.
Yeah, Cold Harbour is a game that's come up a lot during this podcast. So it's in Dorking at the top of a mountain, and it's a tiny boundary, flat pitch, but beautiful place to play. You went up there, we scored 340 in 35 overs. Your contribution was, I think, 68 not out off 22 balls. Kept popping sixes down the mountain for them to chase. It was glorious fun. That must have been great fun.
It was. And as any batsman, confidence is key. I think if you keep that confidence up, then there's just no number for the amount of runs you can score. You can score as many as you want. Confidence is everything, I think.
And then we move into the backyard world. So obviously you've become friends with everybody at Woodside who's sort of been more involved in this trip, and you've become close with the team, big part of the team, and a full-on member of the squad now. Do you remember when you were first asked if you wanted to come to Australia, and what were your initial feelings about it?
Yeah, it was. Didn't expect a Sunday side to have a touring.
It's something different.
I just didn't expect a Sunday side to go on tour really. But then when Ricky asked me, I was like, "Are you serious?"
Were you familiar with the WCG before he asked you?
I wasn't familiar enough.
So we introduced it to you.
You introduced me to it, and then I started slowly watching it.
And what did you think then? What was your first impression? When we said, "Do you want to come?" and you obviously would have gone home and had a little look on the internet. What did you think of the WCG? What did you think of their setup? Was it something that appealed to you?
Always wanted to go to Australia. This is a great excuse.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I think you're not alone in that as well.
I love the games. At first I thought it would be proper hardball cricket, and which obviously I didn't mind bringing my kick with me. But then when I saw the tennis ball and the ball moves and swings, and I was like, wow, this is a completely different ball game.
It is, it's almost a different sport.
It's a different sport. And again, in the nets when we're practicing, completely different ball game. It's not something I expect, so it's going to take a while to get used to.
But was it something that excited you? Were you sold on it, having seen WCG, or did it take a bit longer to get sort of keen on it?
I think I was sold on it pretty much.
Because you were one of the first, I think, that was asked. I think you were one of the first that we asked, and I mean, is that something that challenged, that excited you, and wanted to be a part of that?
It was like, I mean, who's coming? And obviously,
which has changed a lot over the years, obviously, with selection issues and things.
You need to have a good crowd with you, which we do. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And you were on board quite early. You were one of the ones that was sort of said straight away. There was no I'm and an yes, I want to be here.
Yeah.
So what comes with that then is we had to set up our own league and get some practice in for ourselves.
Right.
And the very first test match we ever played, as we mentioned earlier, you were the star, 72. Highest score ever by a debutant in our backyard games.
Yeah,
still the record now.
Waldingham, I think it was.
It was a Waldingham don't, it's still the record. What do you remember about that first day? Because obviously there were teething issues, things we got wrong because it was our first time doing it. But leaving that game, you've got some runs, we had the whole day as an event. What do you remember making of the day as a whole and how we'd all organised it and playing it for the first time properly?
I think you guys did a great job of organising it. It was a different ball game, like I said.
It's a lot different to how it is now.
It is. It takes me.
We've changed a lot.
Absolutely. It took me back to when I was about, 10, 11 years old, when I was playing the garden with a tennis ball. But except with this had tape on it, and this would move either way. Just didn't know what. Just didn't know what it would do. It definitely took me back by surprise. It looks easy on camera, but in reality...
That's the thing, the camera I think is very unfair on the bowlers, because the camera, you see like say a half volley and you think, oh, why has he not smashed that? But it's so different when you're facing it, isn't it?
I agree, it's a completely different ball game.
So it really is. And I think, obviously that series went along, we had a couple of really close games at the end of that series. Unfortunately, your side, you were on Dan's 11, which lost that series. But overall that series, your memories of it and how it went and your enjoyment of it, where would that sit after the first series?
I loved it, I think it's great fun, especially during winter when there's nothing to do and you've got cricket cravings. So brilliant.
Had you ever seen yourself on camera before as well? Because that's another thing that's kind of struck people. A lot of people who are playing this have never watched themselves bat or bowl on camera before. Was that new to you, or have you had experience?
It was, and I've watched myself a number of times to just try and correct my technique. So it is good. It is good to see yourself on camera.
It can do funny things to your brain though, because there's some times where you think, I've absolutely made a mess of that, and then you look at it on camera and it looks like you've middled it.
Yeah.
And then the opposite as well, you think you've middled it, and on the camera it looks horrible.
It looks horrible. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a bizarre thing. But obviously, like I say, I mean, you picked it up quickly, runs on debut, 70 odd. How have you found batting in it since then? Because it's fair to say your batting in the time since then has been up and down, some really, really good innings mixed in with some sort of dicier runs as well. How have you found it over the last 3 years, the development of your game, and where do you think you're at now as a batsman?
I think it all depends on the game situation, really. It's a funny game because you look at the scoreboard and you think, right, I need to either stay in or I need to hit the ball, and it's very misleading as well because the ball could be just like coming in, next minute it's moving out, and you think, bloody hell, you've got to be very careful at the same time.
It's so tough.
You've got to apply yourself, otherwise it's going to get you. as a batsman.
I found as a batsman the issue is not so much that it swings, it's when it swings late. If
That's,
it swings early out the hand, it's kind of okay.
It's okay,
you
but
can
it's
just
the
play
late
it. But it's
swing.
when it goes down straight and then dips. It's very, very
And then
difficult.
you got the odd bounce, and then it can slow down if it hits the green surface of the ball, the soft side, or if it hits the tape, it can just slide through, and you think, oh bloody hell, there we go again. So yeah, and again, it depends on who's bowling. I have had problems with Ricky. I think Rob.
Well, he's a fine bowler. Well, they're the two top wicket takers.
Yeah,
so there's obviously no shame that you're not the only one who's had problems, especially Rob.
Oh yeah, not just in backyard cricket, also in club cricket as well.
Yeah, I mean, Rob is obviously a fine player.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting you talk about Rob, because in that first series there was a certain moment, wasn't there?
Yeah.
In the last test, which was picked up on camera, which was Rob Maguire's hat trick, and you were in that.
Yeah.
Which were you, the second or the third? Which one were you?
I think I might have been the third.
Were you the last? You were the hat trick one.
I might be. I could be wrong.
We'll see if we can find out and put it on the video. But yeah, what do you remember about that? Then coming in facing a guy who you know is a good bowler anyway, on a hat trick.
I've faced him all my life, and getting out to it that way was like, okay, I shouldn't be getting out that way. And playing with him since I was a kid, and you're like, I should know him by now, right?
On the hat trick as well.
Absolutely. But yeah, fine bowler, deserves every wicket.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, he's top class.
And yeah, he's not. I don't think he's coming on tour.
Well, we're not going to say too much about the squad because we don't know what order these podcasts are going to go out, so we don't know if the squad will have been announced, but we won't say one way or another. But it's fair to say if Rob Maguire is coming, that's somebody the Australians need to keep an eye on.
I think he'll be
devastating.
Yeah.
So what do you make of Australia then? Now that you've said obviously you've sort of gotten into their channel since we've organised this, how much of it have you watched? Would you say you're an avid watcher or not so much? What do you know about them?
When I get a minute, I do like to skim through, have a quick look at what the bowlers are doing. I'm more interested in what the surface is like.
It's going to be different because obviously we play indoors where you're playing on true sort of marble pitches, and they've got an actual pitch which will probably do more.
Well, you're playing in natural conditions, different sunlight, different weather, which I don't know how we're going to cope.
Yeah, hopefully well, but obviously that's the one thing we can't practice for. We can't practice for that weather.
Absolutely, we don't know what the mosquitoes are like either.
This is very true.
All these factors need to be.
So you've been studying it, you've been looking at it, and where would you say your game is? We're going out there at the moment. At the time of filming, we're just around the start of July, so we're going out there in about 3-4 months' time. Where do you think your game is at? How confident are you? Where do you think you sit as a player going into this series?
So the first thing I'd probably do is check my batting out there. What I mean by that is go out there, see what the wicket's doing, what the bowlers are doing, play myself in, and adapt to the conditions. And then obviously, as your confidence builds up, then you start pushing the ball through the line.
And you have a reputation of being a free spirit as a batsman. You like to play your shots. You can hit the ball in some quite unusual areas, all around the wicket, very risky player. Do you think the conditions will allow you to show the best of yourself when we're out there? Are you expecting to be able to play that sort of very loose-wristed way that you normally do?
Oh, again, you just got to go out there and see what the wicket's doing, what the bowler's doing. On a day 5 pitch, for example, the ball could be doing all sorts, might be a bit difficult. But yeah, I think because you haven't got much of a surface area to play with, you have to kind of be risky, I think, in these conditions. And you've got to just got the ball for the 1s and 2s or boundaries. Yeah,
and I think what's going to help you is that from having played a lot of club cricket with you, obviously when we go to the WCG, the boundary fences are sort of in front of square. They've got the auto wicket and fences behind. You don't really score a lot of runs behind the wicket anyway. So it shouldn't be much of a hindrance to you. You won't have to change your game as much because you're not someone who likes to sort of guide through third man or play through fine legs. So do you see that as an advantage that you don't need to do that there anyway?
Yeah, yes and no. I'm a very early player. Maybe I'm giving that away, but I do look to. It depends on the field setting as well. At the same time, I do like to work the ball in the gaps. But if the ball's doing bits, it's going to be very tricky because if you're risky, the high chances are you're going to get a top edge or you're going to get nick. So you've just got to be very careful. But looking at the videos, I think you've got to play very straight.
Yeah, I think that's Partly because of the nature of the ground and
Correct.
the way it looks as well, and because of that pitch. We've not played on that kind of surface.
I think the most important thing is to play in the V out there, and is what I see mostly the guys doing. I don't really see many people pulling the ball or smashing it.
Again, because of the height limits as well, you can't pull upwards.
Correct.
So,
there's a risk factor. So with plastic bats and tennis ball, so it might pop. So I can see why people are playing with the straight bat.
Yeah.
So again, you've got to go out there and see what's happening.
But obviously you back your own game, and so one thing we all know about you, those who play club cricket with you, you really stick to your own method a lot. And at times it doesn't always work. The aggressive way you play, it can sometimes lead to a little run of low scores. How do you find that courage? Is there something you think about when you're out of nick? Is there something that you stick to that keeps you going to play your way? Because it'd be easy to go into your shell and just kind of bob about a little bit, but you always keep going for it. What do you think of in bad runs of form that sort of keeps you on that mindset?
I think the guys at my local Saturday club have got used to the way I am as a batsman. I'm not a guy that will defend much. I'm a very attacking batsman. I believe personally, if there's a bad ball, it's got to go for four. No matter what situation you're in the game, if it's there to be hit,
so
it needs to be hit.
Fair to say the Aussies can expect you to come at them? There's going to be no ducking and weaving and bobbing about there.
Yeah, so again, if the ball's there to be hit, then why not?
Yeah, so it'll be sort of on merit still.
You can't make a bad ball look good.
Yeah.
So you play the ball on its merit.
So talk to me about those runs of form then. How is that for you? Because you are very much the kind of player who it's all or nothing. I don't see you get like a run 3 or 4 weeks in a row you're going to get 20, 30. You either get 50, 60, 70 or it's single figures. How is that for you? Is it difficult, or when you're in a bad run, how do you just think, it's fine because I know the runs will come? How do you find that, then sort of fluctuations that you get?
It's not very good.
Is it something, would you prefer to be more of a consistent, less spectacular player?
It would
because
be
when
nice
you do get it right, it is explosive, really explosive.
I think it would be nice to be consistent, but again, majority of the time I think I get myself out on a really bad ball. Full toss, for example.
I think we've all been there,
and it's happened a few times. But again, you shouldn't go into the nets thinking, I've just got myself out. No, it was a bad ball. It should have been hit. I should have hit it. So you've just got to work on that for the next game.
So is the mindset, say you were to get caught on the boundary, the mindset then would be not so much, I should have blocked it, it's more, I should have hit it over his head.
I should have hit it harder.
Yeah, so it should have gone on the roof.
Or should have hit it somewhere in the gap.
Yeah, so it's not a case of, I should have just blocked it,
Correct.
kind of thing. Yeah, which obviously suits you and the way you play. And obviously with your batting, like I say, really looking forward to seeing you in Australia because you are probably the most elegant player that we're taking and probably the best to watch. So it'd be really nice if the Aussies can get a glimpse of that and see you at your best. And who knows, an Ashes winning innings could be around the corner. I'm thinking Kevin Peterson at the Oval, are we going to see that type of thing maybe? But let's talk bowling, because your bowling has been a bit of a revelation. When we started doing backyard cricket, we knew it had been a long time since you bowled and we weren't expecting much, to be honest. We were expecting you to sort of be a doubler. But 12 wickets, a good economy rate, 3 for 17, good figures, and your bowling compares really favourably to frontline bowlers. Just tell us a little bit about what you enjoy about bowling in the backyard specifically that's different to club cricket and what your mentality as a bowler is.
So club cricket is very different. You've got to adapt yourself to the game situation very quickly. You've got to plan with the team, where this is completely different. You've got the ball, it can either swing in, it can swing out, it can do all sorts. So as a bowler, you're by yourself, I think, in this sort of game. Again, you don't have to put too much effort into it. I think you can just take it easy and just be a free spirit. And if you hit the length, you'll be alright. So
do you think then, as someone who's bowled leg spin in club cricket and now obviously bowled in backyard cricket, the fact that in backyard cricket you only get one over and then there's a rotation, you've got to wait, do you find that easier than bowling a long spell of leg spin in a club game, or is it more challenging because you only get 6 balls? What for you is, how does that difference feel to you?
I think bowling in club cricket is a little bit better because you
is that because of the length of the spell?
Yeah, the length of the spell. If you leave it too long, again, lose your rhythm. You just lose that. You just start to cool down a bit.
But it never seems to be an issue with you. You don't get splattered around a lot. I can't recall many times in backyard cricket where you've had, say, 2 overs 0 for 20. where it happens to everybody, and I'm sure it's happened to you at least once, but I can't recall many occasions where you've been sort of bashed around. You tend to keep a lid on it well. And it's the variations. Just tell us a little bit about that, because you really are a bag of tricks when you bowl. What's the mindset when you're running through all these variations?
I think you've got 6 balls. If you keep bowling the same deliveries, batsman's going to pick it up. So it's very important to vary the pace, the bounce, obviously what side, how you hold the ball. You've got to vary it. Otherwise, I think it's easier to play on these wickets, especially.
Yeah.
I think it'll be more difficult in Australia.
To
Because
bowl?
you're playing on to bowl.
Yeah.
Because you're playing on a natural wicket, you can have dips and bumps, and depending how grassy it is, how dry it is, or how worn it is. Whereas in Waldingham, you've got a flat deck.
Yeah, it's marble.
And it is much easier to, I think, play on flat decks where we are training.
So are we still expecting the box of tricks in Australia? Or?
I think so. I think when I'm out there, you see how everyone else bowls. Like Jake's going to be. I watch him. I take him as an example. I watch Rob. I watch Jimmy. I see what they're doing, and I take it from there.
Yeah, I think we are excited to see how you get on, particularly in the limited overs games. Obviously, in the Test match, those variations, the batsman's got the time to just sort of keep them out.
Correct.
The limited overs games, are you eyeballing that as a weapon? Is that where you think you're going to stand out? If I said to you, what are you expecting from your tour? Where would you be looking at it from that perspective?
I think I'm looking more forward to the one days.
So that'll be where you think you're. Yeah. Would that be as a batsman as well?
Yes.
So you're really much specialist for the one days.
Yes, definitely.
And looking to have a big impact on the series, because that'll be the tail end of the series when the pressure's on. How do you think you'll cope with that? Because it is interesting. The one thing we're not going to be used to is playing in front of sort of 100 shouting Aussies in the heat.
Correct.
How are you preparing for that? Where do you think you're going to be at when we get around there? I mean, it's obviously going to be difficult, but
don't get me wrong. I think the whole team has to adapt to the conditions. It's not going to be easy for any away team. But I think we should be alright. I think within 24 hours we should cope with a few beers.
Yeah, a couple of beers along the way.
I think we'll be alright.
That solves every problem, doesn't it? A few
Absolutely.
beers along the way.
So no, I think we'll be fine.
So where do you see this series being decided then? From the teams as a whole, obviously, like I say, we're not going to go too much into who's in our squad, because we don't know when this will be released. But obviously we know who's in the Aussie squad. You've seen their videos before. How do you think this series will be decided? What are you expecting to be the key factors?
I think it's not going to be easy. So I think we'll have to work really hard.
Oh yeah, I think we can appreciate the fact that we're going there as underdogs.
Absolutely. So I think again it's the first time for us.
Yeah.
So I think there will be some elements of nerves, without doubt, especially when you're going to be on camera.
Yes, yeah, that's another point as well. It is going
just
on.
Having that at the back of your mind is gonna have an impact on your game.
So where would you be at as the kind of person you are? Are you someone who would see the camera and try and forget that it's there and focus, or are you someone that relishes the fact that people are watching it's on camera? What would you be thinking when you're out there?
I'm gonna try to forget the camera is there.
So you'd rather sort of have peace of mind and just do your own thing?
And just play my normal game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And obviously, yeah, like I say, I mean, the team we're taking is strong. We're very, very happy with the team we've got. Do you believe we've got an Ashes winning team?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. I mean, definitely a lot of cricketing experience. Probably over 50 years of cricket there.
Yeah. And what do you make of the Aussies team? Is there anyone on the Aussies team that you've got your eye on as being someone you're worried about, or someone you think could be a weak link for them? What do you make of their squad?
I think they're a great side, to be honest. I think it will be on par.
So yeah, we're expecting a very, very close. Do you think there's a danger that the Aussies are perhaps underestimating us before we go out there?
I think so.
Do you think that's the case?
I think so. I think, but again, you just don't know. They know better than us, so they are in.
I think that's our one advantage. They know the weather, they know the pitch, they know the atmosphere in the venue, but they don't know us.
They don't know us.
That's the one unknown for them. They don't know what they're up against.
So it looks easy on camera, I would say.
It does.
But in reality, it's a completely different ballgame.
It is. It's crazy.
So yeah.
Just tell us about what this means to you on a personal level. Obviously, we may win, we may lose, we don't know. But what does, you mentioned you always wanted to go to Australia, but what does the trip as a whole mean for you? Is the cricket the be all and end all for you? Would you be happy coming home without a medal at the end of it, or is it the experience? Just tell us a little bit about what this means to you and what you want to get from the trip as a whole.
it's a nice excuse to go away with a cricket team that you've played for, and great bunch of guys. Winning would just make it a little bit better.
Was that the sort of icing on the cake?
It's icing on the cake, but it's not everything, I would say.
So
the main thing is to get a relationship, and obviously there'll be another day. There'll always be.
Yeah, so it's to get to know the Aussies, enjoy the experience, the atmosphere.
Get to know the conditions, get used to it, and I'm sure we can bring that back with us.
And have you ever been on tour for cricket before? Is this going to be your first time playing abroad?
No, I have been before on cricket tours, but it'll be the first time going to Australia on cricket tour.
And obviously first time playing
in
back
Australia. Just first time going to Australia, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, which I think is the case for most of us. I think there's only one or two that have been before.
Correct.
So it is new for most of our team. And again, I'm the same. Australia is somewhere I've always wanted to go regardless of the cricket. So we are very, very grateful to the Aussies for having us.
Correct.
As well, which is going to be fantastic. And we're really, really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We are.
So we've got the Tri-Series coming up afterwards.
Yeah.
We've obviously got the Ashes. We want to get that earned, but like you say, it's not the be-all end-all if we don't, but we want that earned desperately.
Absolutely, we do.
Where are your priorities in terms of Ashes versus Tri-Series afterwards against New Zealand and Australia? If you could only win one, which one are you wanting to win?
Ashes.
It's the Ashes, is the big one. I think most of us would agree with that.
You'd go to Australia for the Ashes, right?
Ah, yeah. I mean, I think that's the one that we want.
Absolutely.
But then, obviously, wouldn't complain if we lost the Ashes but picked up the Tri-Series medal.
Absolutely. It would be nice to bring something back.
And it'd be nice to play against two countries as well, because we've got the second thing of Australia. We've also got the Kiwis as well, which will be nice. Did you watch any of their series against Australia when they went a few years ago? Have you seen any of that?
I did watch. I briefly did watch that. That was very interesting. Very interesting.
And I presume they'll probably have a much changed team to what they had then. But just based on what we saw from their series a few years back, are they beatable? Are they anything? Who are you more worried about, Australia or the Kiwis?
I think I'm more worried about the Kiwis actually.
The Kiwis?
Yeah.
Even though it's in the Aussies own
I know. They're good bowlers.
They have a good side. They struggled in the Test match.
They did struggle in the Test match.
But the one-dayers, they played well.
But I think they played exactly that.
But again, obviously, it was a long time ago. The squad must be presumably a lot different and
way better, probably.
And I'm not going to say the name because again, I don't know when this is going out in relation to the announcement, so we won't name the player. But it is worth noting the Kiwis are bringing a former Test player with them, and I believe you know who that is as well. Obviously, we're not going to say who it is in case it hasn't been announced yet, but. How do you feel about that? I mean, is that something you're excited for? Where does that sit with you? The fact that we're going to be playing against an ex-international.
I think it's a bit more. Take it as a completely different ball game. I think we have also got some fantastic bowlers and batsmen. Yeah. So I am backing our side.
Are you looking forward to bowling and batting against him personally?
I don't mind actually, to be honest. Yeah. It'll be a good experience.
I certainly will, yeah.
And you've got to respect his talent at the end,
100%,
of the day.
And again, without saying who it is, he was a very talented player. So I mean, this is obviously the trip of a lifetime, and a lot has gone into this. There's been for everybody who's come in, the sacrifices financially, time off work, things like this. People can't spend as much time with their loved ones and friends because they've got to save up for this trip. So we're giving everybody a chance on this podcast. Is there anybody, while we've got the camera here, that you want to thank for helping you get this running for you? Anybody who's helped you save? Anyone who's made sacrifices with you? This is your chance, basically. Anybody you want to say thank you to?
I think it's the whole team, really. I would say thank you to everybody for organising it and making all the effort to organising the training sessions. Again, doing this interview, video editing, again, thanks to you.
That's the pain in the arse bit. The video editing is.
I think people don't realise the amount of time that goes into the editing.
Well, yeah.
But it's not easy. So.
Yeah, and it is important that we don't shy away from acknowledging that, because like I say, it's not just us, the 10 of us, that have had to make sacrifices. There's families, girlfriends, friends, brothers and sisters and things that don't get to see us as often as we'd like. We can't do some of the social things because we have to save for this.
Correct.
Can't go on holiday with your missus or your family because you need 3 weeks off work for Australia as well. How has it been for you? Has it been a rocky road trying to get this off the ground? I think it's important we don't shy away from answering those questions.
It's not easy, obviously, getting time off work. 3 weeks is a long time. But obviously, I think you guys have organised it pretty well. gave plenty of notice.
Yeah, we've done as much as we really can be expected.
I think so.
But
and I would obviously like to thank the Australians for inviting us.
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
I mean, that's fantastic. They've given us the opportunity
it's
to
incredible of them to let us come and do
let
this.
us come. Correct. So yeah, big shout out to them. Obviously, thank you very much for them for inviting us.
And sorry in advance about taking the urn off you, which is what we're going to do, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.